All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's your girl, Carlika Katrina Basnight-Menendez. Yes, all of that. And of course, you already know what we are here for. You know my rap name, from C to Z, honey. That's how you can connect with me on all platforms of social media. Start typing in all the letters of the alphabet, right? It started with C and it end with Z. But nevertheless, Menopause Madness is still going on. And we have an amazing guest. Let me tell y'all, behind the scenes, okay, before we hopped on here with you all, I said, Rachel, we need to hit record because we could have recorded the pre-show. Okay, that was a pre-show that we had, but we have to, this is going to be a really good conversation. So make sure you all tune in. Make sure you share, because you don't know, you may be saving someone's life. And I'm talking about a menopausal woman's life. I don't know if you all have seen where a husband's wife actually committed suicide, right? And I'll have to find that article, but it's real, right? And we're not just talking about like this little mild hot flash I'm over here having, right? We're not talking about the vaginal dry. We are talking about those things, but those are not the main focus, because there are so many levels, right? So many levels to menopause, so many levels to women's health. And so you all, we're going to dive into this conversation with Rachel, my guest on today. Let me tell you, mark your calendar, September 16th through the 17th, MenoCon is coming. And if you think Menopause March Madness virtually is something, if you thought Menopause and Mimosa, when we did that virtually 4 times back to back, then you want to be in the building. You don't want to just get hearsay. You want to be having your seat. So look, stay tuned. Tickets go on sale March 7th. And we are celebrating. Look, we celebrate ourselves every single day, but specifically the world is celebrating Women's History Month. And like I told Rachel, look, we are history, and we're making history right now, having these conversations, because guess where these videos are going? Nowhere, right? They're going to be here long after we're not here, and someone is going to get some information. Someone's going to be educated. Someone's going to be empowered and equipped to say, you know what? These women were thriving, but they were transparent in their journey, and that one conversation changed my life. So welcome, Rachel.
Thank you, Carlika. I don't know how to follow that awesome intro into this conversation, but thank you so much for asking me to be your guest and for having me.
Well, thank you for saying yes. And you all, I don't take a yes lightly, right? I'm just grateful that we're able to come together from all parts of the world and have a conversation that can potentially reach one person, right? If we reach one woman, I'm going to sleep well, right? Because we're here to make impact. It's not about all the social media numbers. I'm talking about, let's make real impact in legislation. Let me get the word out right. Let's make real impact in our communities. Let's make impact when it comes to women health initiatives. And how do we do it? By having the conversations, by speaking up and showing up. And so, Rachel, just tell everyone who you are and what are you doing in the world?
What do I do in the world? So I am currently I'm an Instagrammer. I am talking about menopause and perimenopause with as many people as I can get to listen. I'm formerly many things, a nutritionist. I worked for many years with chronic pain patients, and that was a very interesting sort of segue into doing all of what I do now, because what it allowed me to do ultimately is to sort of bridge the gap between inflammation and pain and nutrition specifically, because that was sort of where my interest was. But we were just talking about mental health specifically. And so COVID happened, shutdown came, I lost my job, and I had already been thinking about stepping into social media to talk about menopause specifically, mainly because as I was looking around on Instagram, I'm not really on anything else, I found that there were so few Black women in the conversation or having the conversation. Of course, it didn't take long for me to kind of learn the algorithm and sort of figure out how to find people that I wanted to speak to and hear from. But that was a learning curve. And yet still, I felt like there was a sort of a large gap in the conversation. So that was one thing that kind of prompted me or encouraged me. Maybe I thought, well, I got something to say. I'm just going to give it a shot myself. But the other thing was what we just started talking about is this article I had read in New York Magazine. It was titled Midlife Psychosis. And it was, and as I said, I can't remember how much of the article even mentioned perimenopause and menopause, but there was definitely this connection between hormone fluctuations and these women featured in the article who literally lost their minds. And as I said, professional women, high functioning women, wives, mothers, and their lives were upended, and dramatically so, you know, in midlife. So for them, it was a certain time of life. I don't believe any of the women featured in the article was thrust into menopause because of surgical menopause, right, or something like that. So I think that, I'm pretty sure that's what was going on there. But it really frightened me because I thought, again, I can't remember everything, but I believe at least one of them had a history of depression and anxiety. And these were things that rang true for me. Mm-hmm. And I was very afraid because I was already kind of starting to see things at my job, in my marriage, even as a mother, where I was feeling like not quite myself. I was feeling more on edge. I was feeling more insecure. I was feeling more depressed. I was feeling lethargic. I didn't have my same will to kind of be plugged into my life that that I had, you know, that was just normal and everything just a couple years before. So I thought there has to be more of a discussion going on around this, because this is just another normal phase of life. And where are the people talking about it? So it didn't take long, you know, before I found all of that online. And then I started doing phone calls for the Hey Perry community, which is a real community platform for perimenopausal and menopausal women. And I spoke to the founder of the platform, and I said, you know, you guys should do have a video library of interviews, you know, where people are speaking to women who are experiencing things, are doctors, nurses, nutritionists, fitness people, you know, everything focused on women going through this season of life. And she said, that sounds great. You want to do it? And I said, okay.
So she's like, so since you have this such amazing idea, you can go ahead.
Why don't you handle that idea? Yes.
Take that initiative.
Exactly. What was I thinking? So anyway, so I started doing that, and it's I love it. It's been really, really fun and really interesting. Just so interesting. And I met just very you know, learned people in this niche, if you will. And
it's a lot to learn. It's a lot of people to connect with, because everyone's journey is different. Everyone's why, especially those who are in the industry and saying, you know what, change needs to happen, and how can we do that? Who can we have the conversations with? Rachel, I definitely resonate with what you're saying with where were we at, right? Like, I've talked to women in the UK and different things, and they're like, oh, you're the first Black woman that I've ever met in menopause. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. What? Yeah. How is that even possible? Yes.
Right. Yeah. With millions of women in menopause, with women of color even being the higher percentage for hysterectomies and fibroids and all of these different things, you're just like, but then when I start diving in and researching myself and looking for us, y'all.
I know.
I was like, well, where are we at? I mean, I even made posts. Hey, where are the Black women talking about menopause? Like,
I know, I did too. I
started contacting, because it was like your eyes were just wide open. Like, wow, are we not really having the conversation? And it's still a big gap. Yeah. Even on Instagram and social media, it's still a huge gap. Yeah. But I'm thankful for the ones who are saying, you know what, we're not going to be silent, and we're just going to step up, and we're going to take that initiative. Whether that's like you said, I have an idea. All right, you take that idea. Right. And so, but we have to, because with the statistics and different things,
yes,
women of color, they say, we tend to be in perimenopause longer. We may start earlier. Hot flashes and different things may be a little more intense. So it's like, and then we're the number one for a whole lot of different other
heart disease, cancers of all kinds, cognitive dysfunction.
And now suicide, right?
Yes.
The numbers for suicide in women of color, it is on the rise. And like you said, where a lot of people want to classify or stereotype, it's the ones who are at the lowest of the socioeconomic statuses and different things. No, it's your executives, it's your CEOs, it's the people that you're looking like, wait, you have it all. You look like, let's say you look like you have it all together. And so, like you said, the depression, anxiety, these are some of the topics in menopause that you don't hear as much. We hear a lot about the symptoms, and look, you got to pay attention because menopause is not a one size fits all. So what another lady may have as symptoms, someone else may not experience, but that emotional and that mental, I haven't dealt with depression, but I could definitely tell a difference when it came to some of my anxiety levels with certain things. And I had never experienced that before. So I was just like, why do I feel like I'm on high alert? And different things, like I'm driving, I feel like I'm on high alert. I'm doing little things that I feel, and like you said, you get defensive, you get all of these things that people don't talk, and it's just like, hold on, that's typically not
me. Yeah. No, I'm so glad, so grateful that you're bringing this conversation out into the open, because as much steam as the conversation around menopause is gaining, there is still this piece around mental health that I think needs a lot more attention. And women are consistently speaking about that piece being the loudest and most difficult for them to deal with. And there are many women, like you just shared, that do not have a history of depression, don't have a history of anxiety, feel sort of, relatively okay walking around in the world, and their hormones start to shift, and in your case, shift overnight. And there's this dramatic switch, and it comes out in various ways. So I was telling you about this app I was scrolling through, and the categories that had the most conversation or comments were about self-esteem, body image, and depression.
Wow.
And and I thought, because we talk about it so much, I thought, it's going to be hot flashes, it's going to be libido, and it's going to be vaginal issues. No, it was all things related to our psychology, our sense of self, our identity, because there's this piece of us that's kind of like, not only do we sort of not recognize ourselves anymore, but who are we now if we've identified so much in a certain way, and now that piece is removed or removing itself, lessening itself. So all of that are the things that I also am really, really interested in. As I said, so sort of for my own personal health, but also because, as you said, I was looking around for women who looked more like I did, and hearing and reading and seeing study after study after study about the inequities in our health and our wellness, and sort of wondering, well, how can we speak to more of each other around this conversation?
And that's some of the things that there's always a time where more things are brought to the light. right? And sometimes when we think back on some of the conversations or some of the atmospheres or settings that we have been in, when you think back, you're like, oh, yeah, that they shouldn't have said that. Or why did they do it that way? Or why did I have to, for myself, I went years and years in pain, going back and forth to various doctors, no answer, and different things. So it's just like, oh, okay. So we definitely have to advocate for ourselves, because like
absolutely,
we have to speak up, and we can't keep pacifying that certain things are okay, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in the doctor's office. We have rights, right? And we have a right to speak up. We have a right to file a complaint. We have a right to do these things. And a lot of times, culturally and different things, we just let things pass, and it's just like, well, and we downplay it. We downplay the, like, when you see menopause, mood swings, we downplay that it's not just mood swings, it's mental health. We downplay that it's not just, well, one day I felt this way. I made a post on LinkedIn saying, you know what? I've had a day where I felt like I had all the seasons and different weather changes in one day. Showers, spring showers, me crying. I had a tornado. That was me being a little angry. Right?
Yes, I know.
And a lot of times people don't understand.
No.
Right? So even in the workplace, or even in our own home, sometimes our partners and everyone have to be informed, so we can say, look, okay, how can we help her so that we don't have to read another article, or another woman feels like they're pushed to commit suicide because of a life transition?
Yes. How can we be failing women this much? It's so good you brought up the workplace stuff too. I'm actually doing a peri call later this week with someone about this, and I was kind of putting my questions together, getting angry as I'm doing it, because I'm thinking, in this day and age when women have really worked so hard to get wherever we've gotten in various places, whether it's in a boardroom or a warehouse or wherever it is. And yet there's all these issues around how we're doing when we're there, and if we're getting support, if we're feeling heard, if we're feeling seen, if we're feeling threatened about job loss, if we're feeling, just these concerns about our performance. It's grueling, and yet it is just a natural.
Ask me how I know, Rachel. I still
how do you know?
Time, and that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
I won't even go into details with it, but one day I'll go into all of the details.
Yes, we should have another conversation.
Yes. But menopause in the workplace, it's real. And I'm just like, some of the comments that I've heard that have been made even towards me and different things, it's not right. It's unacceptable. Now, the good thing about me, I speak up for myself, right?
Yeah, no, that's critical. And for women who are hesitant to do that, that's a problem.
And you know why so many will sit and suffer and be silent and don't speak up? Because they are afraid of either job loss. They're afraid of being targeted. They're afraid of being rolled up. They're afraid of all of these other things that's going on now. You have to sit at work and be almost robotic and just stay in your own bubble, because you don't know who to trust. You don't know what to say. You don't know who to talk to. Okay, so let me just be quiet, work, and go home, right?
And then what kind of a life is that? What kind of a day existence is that? Yeah, no, I hear you. I just want to say one more thing too, just about another subject, if that's okay.
Yes.
And this isn't necessarily about mental health, although I believe strongly that it contributes to improved mental health. But my springboard into all things is almost always nutrition. It's an interest of mine. It's a passion of mine. I'm interested in everybody at every age having access to the best food and the best care and the best of everything they can consume. And I have to say that in my experience, I was helped, I believe, by focusing as much as I could on what I was consuming, the quality of what I was consuming, the combinations of things of what I was consuming.
Right.
And I think that largely also helped my mental health. So you'll hear about like the gut-brain connection all the time. There is a connection there. It does exist. It is real. And I really just say this to encourage women out there to do their research. Think about what they're consuming, not just also, I just want to say, not just nutritionally speaking, but what you're consuming, you know, your eyes, your ears, your spirit. Like, what are you feeding yourself? But specifically around food, just to be aware of, you know, what you are feeding yourself, because it does matter, and it does either support or heighten the severity of your symptoms. And many women sort of know this intuitively, because for many of us, you know, we reach a time where suddenly we can't have as much alcohol as we used to, or, you know, if we consume potato chips or fried foods or, you know, what do you call it? Fast foods.
Right.
We don't feel as good, and we can't necessarily put a finger on it, but we just, you know, for whatever reason, like we're out in the world and we're doing our thing, and this is what's convenient and this is what's handy. We eat what we eat. But I do want to encourage people to consider that if they haven't yet, because it does make a difference. It makes a difference to have a healthy gut. It makes a difference to be going to the bathroom more than once a day. It makes a difference to hydrate. It makes a difference to move our bodies, excuse me, regularly and consistently. It makes a difference to unplug ourselves. It makes a difference to sort of give ourselves time and quiet and peace of mind and fill our spirit, fill our soul, however that looks for you. If it's in prayer, if it's in meditation, if it's in community with people, if it's alone, it's critical for women in perimenopause and menopause. Critical. And particularly for Black women Indigenous women who are under an intense amount of sort of increased stress to begin with, right? And so it's critical now that this time become a time to sort of radically take care of ourselves, you know.
I love that you said just radically take care of you. Like we always say, those first two letters in menopause is me. That's the word me. So take care. When you're taking care of yourself, then everything else around you can be taken care of. But when you're not in the right mind frame, if you're not good emotionally, physically, mentally, all of the things, you can't even serve and support, right? And don't be afraid to ask. Ask for what you need, because we need, through life, it's like a newborn. When they're born, they need the Similac, they need the bottle. Now, when they get about 2, they don't need to be on the bottle, right? You move them to a little baby sippy cup. You're not giving them a whole glass. But then as they get older, right, they're 15, 16, they can drink out of a glass now, right? How would your 15 or 16-year-old look still sucking on your breast? Right? So life's transitions calls for different things. And what we're finding out, so many people are afraid to ask for what you need, right? And be persistent. Because if it's what you need, it's not just beneficial for you, but it's beneficial for everyone around you. I love that you brought out nutrition, because I do believe food can heal and kill, okay? And we see that food can literally heal and kill. And when we're talking about food, you all, we're not just talking about right in the kitchen. Like Rachel said, we're talking about, what are you watching? You know, before you go to bed? What are you allowing yourself to hear, right? I'm a strong believer in manifestation and all of these things. So I protect my eyes and I protect my ears so that I can protect my heart, and I can protect what am I feeding myself? So we want you to be nourished, mind, body, and soul. So what are you going to feed yourself? What are you going to feed yourself today? In the kitchen, in your journal, in your downtime, like just I love what you said. I love to say, I just power it down.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
Power
yes.
down. When I power down or unplug from everything, I take time every day to unplug from everything, right? That's no phones, no laptops, no children, no nothing. Let me just take a minute to quiet my mind. And you all, that takes work. So if you can only do that for 5 minutes, do it. But it's imperative. Trust me when I say it is imperative. Rachel, I can definitely agree with the nutrition. I increased my fiber and different things that I saw a change.
Yes.
In everything, yes. In my body, my energy, and different things. And then, ladies, if you need supplements, right, make sure you're taking your vitamins and different things. Like I'm telling you from my own experience, where my vitamin D was so low.
That is a critical one, and so many people didn't even know about it before COVID, right? We heard about it a lot then. It's critical. It's critical. It changes you when you are sufficient in it.
And it does. It really does. And go to the doctor, right? You all, yes, you can do these lifestyle changes. And I know COVID has had a lot of people stuck in the house, but I'm just here to tell you, COVID ain't going nowhere. So mask up, put on a suit, put on your gloves, whatever you need to do. You can look like the whole movie. What's that old movie, Outbreak? If you need to, you still need to put on
your hazmat suit and get to the doctor.
Go get checked out.
And I know can I say also, Carlika, and you brought this up from the beginning, but there's so many resources now online, just telehealth, mental therapy.
Yes.
Please don't be shy about reaching out to a friend, to a family member, to a spouse, whoever you trust. If it's a medical professional that you have a great relationship with. If you are not feeling yourself, you are not making it up. Nobody knows you better than you know you. Nobody knows sort of how well you're functioning or not better than you. And it's critical also for us, right? It's part of our self-care that we share with whomever we can trust, right? And you're opening the door wide open for us to feel safe enough to do that with each other, with you. But please, 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 should you need a little bit more, I'm going to connect you with a doctor I spoke with. She's in Chicago. She's phenomenal. I want you to speak to her and
awesome.
Meet her and interview her, whatever you guys want to do. But it is that important. You know, it's funny when we're young and we start menstruating.
Yeah.
Or maybe we become sexually active and maybe there's someone in our life who says, you know, let's talk about birth control, or let's talk about what it means to have your period and what that might look like for the next however many years, right? These are not for everybody, but for many young women, girls, this is an opportunity that feels kind of normal and safe to get into these conversations that might be embarrassing or difficult or whatever, but they need to be had.
Yep.
The same holds true now. Just because we're older, just because we're sort of reaching the end of our fertility, we are still impacted even more so because now we have the stress of families, we have the stress of work, we have the stress of identity, whatever it is, life can look quite different now. But we need to, in fairness, you know, give ourselves the room to get the care, have the same kind of meaningful, helpful conversations about what to expect, where to go, if you have someone coming in, you know, how to get help, where to get help. Just give ourselves the room, the space, the care. And if that means reaching out to somebody who has the, professional acumen, please do it. Please do it.
I love that. Reach out, right?
Yes.
And sometimes it's just having a conversation with someone.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Listen, I feel better today talking to you.
it's the energy, it's the atmosphere, but don't sit and say, I'm alone, right? because I know how that feels to feel you got all the pamphlets, you have Google, you have all these things, and you still feel alone. You feel like you can't connect with someone. Make sure that you all connect with Rachel. Look, Rachel, we can just go on and on because this is
can we?
Good. Right? Like, look, we have to have another conversation.
Yes, please.
But Rachel, let everyone know where they can connect with you. Well, she says she's on Instagram, y'all. So give them your Instagram handle.
Yes, it is the memos. So it's the MENOMEMOS. You can find me there. And that is also my website, which I'm working on, but it's up and running and happening and all of that.
Awesome. And so do you have any programs or anything that you have in place? Just share that with the listeners as well, because something that you may say today resonate with them. And so this is what I'm doing. This is the goal behind this as well, to provide options and resources, right? You all, because I'm not going to reach every woman. I don't have that kind of time, that kind of, I have limits. Okay. I have some limitations. I'm not going to reach every woman. And so this is why we're doing Menopause March Madness, so that you know that there are other people out here in all parts of the world and the globe saying, I am here to serve and support. And so, Rachel, how do you serve and support? What programs do you have?
I love that. Thank you for that. I am strictly on Instagram giving away information as I have it and know it. I don't have a program that I charge for. I know that seems weird, and a lot of us jump on Instagram because we wanted to earn money, and I'm interested in that as well, and in collaborations and that kind of thing. But just in terms of what I know specifically around nutrition and all of that, I want that information to just be available to whoever might want it. So if my feed resonates and teaches something, that's great. That's not to say I won't develop a program at one time or another. I am, as I said, nutrition is my thing, but it is so personal to each individual woman, and that requires sort of like an outfit that I don't necessarily have yet, so I can work with women one-on-one, but people sort of go, why aren't you charging? And it's not that I'm trying to be tricky or anything like that. Right. I just would rather give away the knowledge I know. So that's where I'm at right now.
Well, you all make sure you get connected with her, get all of that amazing content that she has right there for you, right? And then reach out to her. You may have a question, you may have, and she's going to have an answer for you, right? But if you're looking for someone to say, look, I've never had a conversation with a nutritionist, then now is the time to do that.
Please do.
So
please
reach out, contact her. You never know what she may have coming up, an event or her one-on-ones or a program, a nutritionist program that's connecting your mental and your mind and your gut and all of these things. But look, reach out, get connected, because once again, these are resources, because I want every woman to know you're not alone in your meno journey, in your life transitions, whatever those transitions may be, right? It can be being married and then you're becoming divorced, becoming a new mom.
Yeah.
One thing for sure, you had your first period, and you're going to have a last, whether that's medically, surgically, or naturally. You will have a last period. And we just want you to be empowered before you even get there. And even if you're in the midst of it now, there is not a death sentence, okay? It is not the end of life for you. So get up, right? Get up, get moving, and then get connected with the right people so that you can say, you know what? Today wasn't my best day, but I'm feeling better, because what we don't want to hear is that you gave up hope. There is hope, and there's so many changes happening in women's health and initiatives, you all. And we need you, right? We want to hear from you all. We want to know what your concerns are, because we're not just taking this information just on YouTube or Facebook, but this is data. This is information. The more we know, the more information we can collect, the more we can talk to people that's in different positions to say, hey, we're rallying together because these are the needs of women. These are the needs of us as a community. And so, Rachel, thank you.
Listen, Carlika.
Yes, ma'am.
I am... First of all, you're a superstar. I am so honored, and thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me space and time to speak with you. This has just been an absolute joy. You should be on television. You're
Someone else
just.
said that. It was like, are you going to be on TV? And I was like, maybe one day.
Oh my gosh, please. Okay, yes, we're going to be working on that. You're just
Working on it.
Wonderful to be doing this work, and thank you for sharing yourself and providing a platform for all of us to connect with each other and learn from one another and depend on one another and lean on one another. It's truly it's everything. It's all that we need. So thank you so much. This has just been a pleasure.
Oh, it's been look, you all, we're going to have another conversation. We're going to have to do a meno panel. Okay.
Yes.
We're going to get together and do a menopause panel. You all just stay tuned, because I tell anyone, you're stuck with me. I ain't going nowhere. Okay.
Good.
You're stuck with me. I'm ready to travel and different things. So look, you all, stay tuned, because there is power in collaboration. There is power in numbers and coming together for the greater good, right? And this greater good is to serve and support. That's what we're here for. And so until the next time, you all, remember, when you change your perspective, let me say that again, when you change your perspective, you change your life. And that's what we're doing. Changing the perspective of women's health, changing the perspective of menopause, changing the perspective of how we just deal with life's transitions, that, you know what? We can't sit menopause down at a daycare. It's a part of our life, and just giving that information so people can understand that we're here. We're not going to be silent, and we're going to keep screaming menopause and women health initiatives, you all. More funding is needed, right? They have funding all out there for Viagra and all these men enhancements. Well, ladies, it's our turn to say, you know what, we're rallying together. So until the next time, I am Carlika Katrina Basnight-Menendez, just all of that from C to Z. Connect with me on all social media platforms, and we'll talk soon.